Alright, CV tips. Through the channel I've received a couple of questions and a couple of CVs just to help out with or to review and yeah, just give some feedback. So I thought I would just kind of make a video like this and just give some tips on CVs, especially if you're starting out or if you just graduated. I feel like if I was in that position, I would love to get some of these kind of tips. So let's kind of get into it. Number one, please do use a template. Don't just kind of open Word, type out all your stuff, qualifications and stuff, and then leave it at that. Get a nice clean template. Nowadays with AI even, there's so many different templates, so many different ways to structure it and to do it so neatly and cleanly. Kind of utilize that and really get something that's already structured that you can just plug into. It really helps a lot and really makes the CV look so much cleaner, so much neater, so much more presentable. Leading on from that, for point number two, is just make sure that it's really presentable. So presentation really matters a lot. If you manage to watch either of the videos of Edwin or Tabiso where they spoke about recruitment at Intellect, they see so many CVs, they go through so many CVs a day. It's important to really make sure that yours is really presentable and neat and yeah, kind of stands out like that, because I know how off-putting it can be where you kind of see a very plain, like there's no effort being put into the CV. That's the point of contact, you know. So like they say, first impressions do matter. So presentation matters, punctuation, spelling, all those kind of things. Make sure you've read your CV, you've read it a couple of times, you've given it to someone else to read. There's no excuse kind of for spelling mistakes. You have Word, you have spell check. Utilize all those things and really get it to a kind of level of yeah, just being super clean, super presentable, and no mistakes. Number three, keep the CV minimal. Now I know it's hard because you want to put as much information as possible, but it's important to just list or just show the top things, the most important things that you have to offer. And even when we speak of, I know it's very easy to want to just list a whole lot of stuff, but it's important to keep it narrow, keep it minimal, keep it focused. So what I mean by that, let's start with your basic info. There's no need to give so much information. Like, see, a lot of times people put even the address. I think all you really need for your personal details is kind of like your name, maybe your ID number, maybe not even that, but more so just have contact information. That's the most important. So your name, your email, your cell phone. I don't think you need to give address, all that kind of extra stuff. That you can unpack as you go. If you want to maybe put the city that you're in, I suppose that's fine. Then let's move on to like skills and, for example, programming languages. Again, I know we want to just list every single language that we've kind of know or that we've dealt with, but it's important to just the most important ones. So the ones that you know that you are proficient in or you know that you've had the most experience in, it's important to keep those at the top of the list. And it's important to maybe keep the list really focused around those ones that you are proficient in and not list endless amount of different programming languages. Also, remember, you should tailor it to whatever position you're applying for. If you're applying for a C# developer, you don't need to go and list that you know 100 different JavaScript frameworks and so many other different languages. Keep it focused, show that you know C#, maybe show that you know one front-end language, database languages, SQL, whatever the case is. Keep it focused. As a developer, you will always be required to kind of learn and know bits and pieces of other different languages. I think that's kind of a given and it's kind of expected. So hence why I say you don't need to fill up more space just with endless amount of languages. Alright, then we list all our various experiences or projects that we worked on, and we kind of try to really put so much detail there when I feel like you don't need to put so much detail. Put your main core responsibilities, anything that really resonates or anything that's really significant that you feel like maybe you implemented an entire feature or an entire payment gateway, for example, on a certain project. Put that kind of stuff, put that kind of information there. Anything that you feel like that would stand out. So generic stuff, I'd say leave that out as it just takes up space. And if you have a position of, say, junior developer, you don't need to say, I wrote C# code I wrote C# modules to support database fetching, for example, something simple like that. But those kind of things are a given. They are your job. That's a junior developer's job would encompass that. You don't need to write all those kind of things, if that makes sense, because those things would just be expected and would be common knowledge, because you know that this job entails those kind of things. I hope that makes sense. Keep it short and keep it to things that you think would make you stand out, or just things that can be talking points, say in an interview, the employer or the interviewer can bring up in the interview. Number 4, as I said before, do tailor the CV to the position you're applying for. Maybe if you're like a junior or a graduate, it's not so important, but I think as you progress in your career and you have quite a number of years of experience under your belt, maybe you've worked on different projects, I think it's important to tailor the CV. And when I say tailor, I mean highlight certain things that would stand out for the job you're applying for. And again, as I say, don't try to list every single thing that you've done, because it would just take up too much space. I don't think the recruiters have time to go through, to read all those things. So make sure whatever you highlight or you tailor on the CV, it really speaks to that job that you're applying for. Number 5, make sure you have contactable references. So it's always good to have some references, and make sure you have some sort of contact details, cell phone or email for them. Do add that to your CV, because I know as you progress in interviews, a lot of companies do value references and they do actually use them. So I think it's quite important. And lastly, a good point is to make sure that let's break it into 2 points. The first point is make sure that you work backwards. And I say backwards, make sure whatever you're listing, so let's say you're listing your experience or your work, different jobs or roles that you've had, work backwards. So whatever you're currently at, start there and then work backwards. So if you had this job for the last 2 years, put that first, and then the previous job, and so on and so on. It just helps with the timeline. And do remember to add time frame. So however long you've been at a job, make sure you add. I don't think it's important to put the exact dates, but just make sure if it's been 2 years, you put the relevant years or the relevant months, that sort of thing, just to make sure that they have an idea of how long you've been at a certain job, whatever the case is. A second point on that is that make sure you're clear, make sure it clearly shows what jobs were full-time, what jobs were part-time. Try to eliminate any guesswork. Say for example you list 2 different jobs, both of the jobs have the same time or they overlap. It can be confusing, like how do you have 2 jobs are you working 2 jobs at the same time? Are they 2 full-time jobs? Are they 2 part-time jobs? Those kind of questions arise. So it's important to make sure that whichever job is full-time or part-time, it's made known and it's clearly written in such a way that they can understand what is what. So I think those are some good tips so far. I think we'll leave it at that. If I think of some more, I think I might just make another video with a few more tips on top of that. If you have any questions, if you have any other tips that you've come across, do leave them in the comments below. If you have a CV that you'd like to review, or what would be even more interesting is that if you had a CV that you'd like me to review on a video, that would be cool. I'll obviously blur out the name or that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's up to you. Feel free. I hope this was helpful, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.